He's the Hosh Kari Don of South African YouTube, one of our sharpest political analytical minds. Mighty Jamie joins me once again on SMWX to discuss the Madlanga Commission, Mkhwanazi's testimony, Phala Phala, and all things controversial at the moment in South African politics. Let's get into it. Fam, I just want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, Pace Car Rental. Use promo code SMWX and make sure you show Pace some love as they're showing this channel some love. Now, let's get into the episode. Mighty Jamie, welcome to SMWX. Was that the right terminology for Hosh Kari?
Yeah. We have to talk about all the Hosh Kari behavior that's been going on and that has been exposed on the biggest political podcast on this continent. Because
for now,
there are others, that are important for discussing issues of music and I'm a piano, but I think for politics, SMWX is still the home base.
Yeah. For now, but you're coming very quickly, man.
To provide support. Cow information.
How many subs now? Nearly 90k.
Nearly 90, and hopefully we'll hit 100,000 before the end of the year. Yeah.
Let's get Mighty Jamie TV. End of the year, end of the month.
End of the month. Come on, guys.
100,000 subscribers for Mighty Jamie TV.
Let's work on it. Thanks.
Bro, this Mkhwanazi situation is just so explosive. We had day one of testimony yesterday. What were your first impressions? And by the way, for the audience, this is going to be a conversation between the two of us, not necessarily an interview. So you'll ask me some questions, I'll ask you some questions.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in your first impressions of yesterday.
So let me give my first overall thought about everything.
Sure.
When I saw the events of the 6th of July, and I think I caught on to it midday, I was like, this is explosive. This is the biggest story of the year.
Yeah.
And this has been building up. Because we saw the killing of DJ Somebody. Woke up on social media, bullets have been sprayed into this popular DJ's car. And then there were other murders. I don't even know. I think the AKA murder itself may very well be implicated in this. Because something happened in the court. I don't know if you guys saw the video. It's a theory that I have right now. Maybe it will be corroborated, maybe it won't. But AKA's dad wouldn't shake Bekicele's hand, but he shook General Mkhwanazi's hand. To me, that was peculiar. I observed it. I thought something's happening there. Not sure what it is, but something is going down.
Yeah.
And then you see all of these other events, Tebuko Tobejane, all of these other, then you look at these other characters, Joe Sibanyoni, all of these people who are being implicated and named, some of them in the attempted murders. As soon as the press conference happened, I was like, this is major.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that some of the media houses then took a defensive position on this, right? They didn't go into it the way I thought they would. Biggest story of the year. All of these journalists with all of these careers, ambitions to win prizes and all of this stuff were moving very slowly. More often questioning General Mkhwanazi rather than actually looking at what he was saying. There were some, News 24 for example, which did cover a lot.
Sure.
We saw the book by Jeff Wicks. I saw the episode he did with you. Quite explosive. Massive. He covered a few issues. He didn't want to talk too much about Morgan Maumela, but we'll talk about that later. But yesterday, then to me, crystallized everything. Because there was a conversation that was happening that, listen, this is not evidence. General Mkhwanazi hasn't given evidence and all of that. And yesterday, all of a sudden, all of those naysayers had to come back and admit that he said and backed up what he had already presented on the 6th of July. For me, what he said yesterday wasn't so novel. It was now him filling in some gaps and letting us see the sources of information that he was relying upon for some of the statements that he made. But he himself, look, I was watching this guy and I was like, this guy is a top cop. I don't know who was writing an article saying that he's not a top cop and why they were feeling that that's an energy that they had to put out into the world. But I was like, this guy is a top cop. I'm taking notes. I'm learning. I got the impression from a first level of, does this guy know his stuff?
Yeah.
I was like, this guy knows his stuff. He's passionate about the work. He's detail oriented. He's able to explain the funding, the budgets, the procedures.
Yeah.
He helped all of South Africa yesterday understand various elements of crime intelligence, crime detection, you name it. So level one, I was like, this is a competent police officer. Level two, his level of preparation was a second to none. I got from him that this guy is prepared. He's going to stand on his words, 10 toes as they say, and he's going to actually back up everything he said on the 6th of July. His demeanor, and that's part of what you have to assess when a witness is giving testimony, to me was compelling, was convincing. I didn't get from him that he's running away from anything, that he's afraid of anything, and that he's going to hold back from anything. Then he went for the jugular. He named some of these names. He did implicate Minister Senzo Mchunu. He did go and mention Katiso Molefe. He did mention all of the people that needed to be mentioned. Vusimuzi Matlala. He wasn't holding back. And he even showed, and I don't know if you picked that up, and it was one of the big ones for me, when he was reading the prosecutor's letter and showing already there that this is not me, Mkhwanazi, who's saying it. These concerns have been raised to us, and I'm presenting you a collective body of information, which is why there was some hearsay there. But the letter in and of itself is a form of corroboration, right? Because the document that was sent that can be traced, etc. The prosecutor, Kotsia, she was actually making powerful points around the granting of bail for Katiso Molefe, not Katiso Molefe, was it Katiso or it was Matlala? Remember when she said, no, it was Pule, Michael Pule Tau.
Sure. So, this is the police officer who was...
the detective who was implicated in the murders, all of that. The Arman Swat, and now we know much more. Because there's weapons. These guys were recycling weapons. For all of the stuff that they were doing as Hosh Dons and Hosh Curry fathers, they're using the same 3 AKAs and 1 pistol. These guys, haven't you watched a mafia movie? Look, I'm not trying to give tips to criminals in other sectors, so ignore what I'm saying. But how can you keep using the same 3 AKAs? It's like they forgot that there's ballistics. But anyway, what she had said there, that how did this guy get bail? Why did the magistrate grant this guy bail? Somebody who has intensive knowledge of policing, somebody who poses a risk to the investigation, somebody who's charged with crimes of such a serious nature that pragmatically he shouldn't have gotten bail. And I was like, aha, this is the infiltration that he was talking about or suggesting. And you don't know, maybe it may be that some of these magistrates were intimidated. The tactics that this team, this group of muscle for the Hosh Dons was using are such that the police themselves have been afraid. The police themselves, imagine it's like a pit bull requesting protection from another pit bull. Say, look, I'm trying to bark at these criminals, but they are so gangster, I need backup for the backup. The pit bull is supposed to be protecting the yard, but the yard protector is saying, I'm not even enough for this. And if you think about what the police were saying, because it's not typical police that were saying, give us protection. These are detectives who are in this type of a task team, in this type of priority investigation, saying, Michael is now out. We don't feel safe. So for me, that was a unique input, different from some of the other stuff that we had already heard from him. But that's my overall. And obviously, there were the zingers which have been discussed yesterday. You covered some of that. I covered it. What are your reflections 24 hours later?
So a few things. Let me talk about being in the room and what I saw.
I saw you. You were in the room,
Yeah. I decided to actually go in the end, at least for the first part, just to be there and feel the atmosphere, because there are things you can see. And then what I think are some other important things, in addition to what you mentioned. So it was interesting to me because it was quite empty, actually.
I saw the same.
There were a lot of journalists, but I would have thought because the public was invited, but then I guess there's a tension with the
people
security.
have work also. That's the other challenge, right? It's like everyone is trying to catch up with it and watch it in between their breaks.
So it was quite empty, but obviously important journalists there. When Mkhwanazi walked in, for the first time, I saw that the weight of this was on his shoulders. And you couldn't really, because when he sat down and when he came on camera, but when he walked into that room and he had to walk past, so the door's on the one side where the witness box is, and you have to walk past all the evidence leaders and I just saw him do this deep exhale and this deep exhale, okay, let's do this.
Game time.
And I saw a bit of nervousness. He was obviously putting on a very confident and he gave his testimony brilliantly, but I don't think we should underestimate, when I looked at him person to person, how much this has taken out of him.
I'm sure there's a massive human toll from this, because it's gun-toting gangsters who have now been linked to very powerful people.
Can you imagine? and just the media pressure and the constant scrutiny. So that was interesting for me. In terms of his testimony, I agree with everything you said. One thing that I think was maybe the story of yesterday was the way that he started with President Ramaphosa immediately. He was like, the president set up this task team, which is actually to the president's credit. We forget he was the one who was like, we need a task team for this back in 2018.
That's before he knew that Morgan was going to become a...
Well, I know. I can see this episode's it's going to get you in trouble. So there was that, but then he was like, the president also set up this interministerial committee, which hasn't been much of in the narrative, and the task team reports to this interministerial committee. So he really went for the big politicians immediately, and then later in his testimony, he was like, he tried to get the national commissioner to tell the president what was happening. Did the president agree with the disbandment of the task team or not? He didn't have any luck. So the key thing for me yesterday is that President Ramaphosa has to be a key witness at this commission, and every minister who was part of that interministerial committee, past and present, also has to be has to give testimony. There are a lot of people there. There's Bheki Cele, there's Ronald Lamola, there's Thembi Simelane, there's Pieter Groenewald. Who's the current Minister of Justice and Correctional Services. He would have been on the IMC. So Mkhwanazi didn't back down from making us remember that this probably goes to the very top of the political pyramid.
So look, I'm going to do a wish list of the people I want to see.
Let's build a wish list.
At the commission.
Number one for me is Ramaphosa.
So he has to go. Because Mkhunu's working for you. Bheki Cele was working for you. You appointed these guys. You said, I trust these guys. So he has to take us into his reasoning.
There's no doubt about
it. He has to even take us into his reasoning on why he set up the commission versus other things.
And what did he know about the disbandment?
Yes.
If he didn't know, why didn't he know? If he knew, did he support it?
Yes.
If not, did he not support it? If he didn't support it, then why did it still happen?
For me, I have another question. He needs to, under oath, tell us what he knows about Morgan Maumela. Hangwani Maumela, Benjani Chauke. Why do I say that? Because the report, it's not me, by the way, but hey, it's not me. It's News 24 and Jeff Wicks. They reported on.
The good thing about Jeff Wick's book actually is it corroborates that Maumela is in fact Ramaphosa's nephew via his first marriage.
To hope.
There was some doubt before, who is this person? Jeff Wicks is like, that has been confirmed, but the president denies he knows him.
So that may very well be the case that he doesn't know him.
Sure.
It may be the case that Hangwani was using the name, to get connections, because his prominence and success starts in 2018, concurrent with the term of the president when he comes in. So for me, that's not a coincidence.
Absolutely.
So he has to say on oath, first and foremost, the thing about Hangwani that is interesting to me, this man who's being treated like Lord Voldemort, no pictures, nothing, no videos. The only video we have is him at Edwin Sodi's party. And then it's a side profile, everything is dark. I'm like, with all the resources that were used for, what is this, Gupta leaks and digital vibes and we have a sophisticated investigative journalist space in South Africa, except when it's Morgan Maumela. All of a sudden, they don't have Bluetooth. They don't have spy cams. They don't have 4K cameras. I'm like, you could catch somebody, the IDT CEO offering you a bribe. You could get that on camera. But you can't get Morgan.
Just a pick, Nj.
So I think he needs to come and explain.
That is a really important point. Just to build on that point as well. The framing of Morgan Maumela. Like, you made a brilliant point on Mighty Jamie TV that when it was Khulubuse Zuma, it was Jacob Zuma's nephew.
Even Ubabaga Tutuzane.
Exactly. I'm always Dali Mpofu's son.
Yes, they be bringing that up. Anytime they want to bring it up, they bring it up.
Yeah, exactly. Tutugile Zuma is Jacob Zuma's daughter. But suddenly, when it's someone related to Cyril Ramaphosa, it's just Tembisa Tender Don.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
10 paragraphs later, you learn that, oh, by the way, this is a relation.
If you can pay for the article, one of the most irritating things that I've spotted with this whole reporting is that all of the stuff has been put behind a paywall. And what that does is it closes off access for the general public. Yeah. They're not able to follow these extensive series, right? Because they don't have the subscription. And we understand the economic conditions. The economy is not giving right now, right? People are just struggling just to make ends meet. So they're not necessarily going to be able to subscribe, which is why, to pay subscriptions, which is why YouTube is so valuable and why they better watch all the ads, because these are some of the only platforms where people can get the information without these paywalls, and the public needs this service of being given full information, right? So when that reporting happens, it's accurate. But now the president has to come and explain, right? That there's a guy called Benjani Chauke who is now closely linked to Hangwani. So you may not know this guy. But does Benjani know this guy?
Well, Jeff Wick says they were actually neighbors, or they lived in the same complex.
The book even says that the guy was wearing like robes and slippers, and he was seen in Hangwani's house there
and
in Hyde
Park.
Park.
Says at some property of Morgan Maumela's, the presidential protection unit was spotted there. So what were they doing?
That's about page 161, if my memory serves correct. It says that. I saw a car coming out, a black BMW. I checked it on Inatis. It went back to Presidential Protection Services. So things need to be explained.
Maybe there's a perfectly legitimate explanation.
Maybe there is.
And he not only needs to go to the commission, he needs to also be a witness at the ad-hoc.
Yes.
Because I'm actually quite disappointed by opposition MPs who haven't raised this yet. They should be like, the first thing they should be saying is the president needs to come to this parliamentary committee to account as well.
Can I be honest a little bit? I think the ad hoc committee, kind of like the people who are not from the ANC missed some of what the game was.
I fully agree.
The terms of reference should have been done overnight.
Absolutely.
They should have said, even if we're not going to be in a committee meeting on WhatsApp, let's finish these terms of reference.
Definitely.
Day one,
Definitely.
They would have gone first. And I think they have more ambit to actually hold everybody accountable for this. Because once this report is drafted and put on the president's desk, he could be applying his mind till the end of the ANC conference.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these guys didn't pick up that some of the squabbles we're having about technical lines here are now being used to delay. So there are some people who are very happy to let us debate for 3 hours. Let everyone speak. Let alternating members speak. Speak your heart out. Shout. No time limits, nothing at the beginning. And what that did is it allowed the commission to catch up. Because the commission is the president's choice of vehicle. The ad hoc committee is the public choice of vehicle. So they definitely need to consider that. They need to get going because I feel like now they've lost momentum. They're a little bit dizzy, but I think they were a little bit unaware that not everyone in the committee has the same interest. I mean, game theory just dictates that if I'm from a particular political party and I've been a spokesperson of a particular person and maybe I'm in that person's faction, I'm going to try to slow down the thing that I think will be most damaging to this particular individual, right? Because we saw even with the Section 89, right? ANC MPs voted against going to the next stage. So the ad hoc committee is a very dangerous vehicle. Something that they don't want. But going back to the president
wish list,
and the wish list. So I think he has to answer those questions about Hangwani. And then you can then think about other people who need to come in. Begicele needs to come in for sure. So I agree with you, Begicele. I think Senzo obviously has to come in. But Begicele for me is more important than Senzo because he was Minister of Police for most of the time. Senzo just came in.
All the way to 2024.
Tony just came in. He just came in. So those people have to come in. Those three, I would say. Obviously, Mkhwanazi has given his testimony. We've obviously, and it's going on, right? Then I think they need to get some of the people who are implicated in these criminal shenanigans. They have to, I don't know how it will work because some of these people now, they are, awaiting trial, etc., etc. But ideally, I would like to hear from Hangwani Maumela.
Absolutely.
His name comes up all over the place. I would like to hear from Katiso Molefe. His name is all over this.
And let's hear their side of the story.
Yes.
Maybe we'll hear more interesting things when they testify than we realize.
Vusi Matlala, let him come in. Let the cat come and show us what he's got.
Definitely.
I would even bring in some of these Hosh Karimaimas. Right? Kodela needs to come in. Tsakani needs to come in. Let's hear from them. And maybe we can give those Hosh Karimaimas some plea deals. Because at some point, somebody has to snitch. And somebody has to be given protection. Tebogo Tobejane, she needs to come in as well.
Absolutely.
She knows a lot and she's intimated that Matlala confessed to her.
I never thought
about Babita.
That would be really important testimony, actually. I would add some political names.
Yeah.
I think Ronald Lamola, Minister
Lamola,
of Justice,
yes,
for the key period of this.
Yeah.
Tembi Nkadineng,
I agree.
very important, because also Minister of Justice for a short time, but there, Pieter Groenewald.
Bring him in.
The
I
only
agree.
non-ANC member on this IMC.
Yeah.
I want to hear from Groenewald. So those are... And Paul Mashatile.
Paul Mashatile, bring him in.
What did he know? He's the deputy president.
Edwin Sodi, add him in.
Wow.
Because he knows these cats.
Wow.
These cats. This Molefe, he knows the whole horse curry industry. Right? And people say he's a large part of it. He's one of the horse dons. That's what they say about you, sir. With all due respect, don't ban me from live. That's what they be saying. The streets, the reporters, these mischievous journalists, not us. We just talking about what the reporting says. But Edwin Sodi needs to come in and explain his version of the story.
Really
he assisted the last commission quite well because
Yeah.
he was quite candid. He was like, no, I gave this guy money. It was for the organization. This, and the third. He needs to explain to us what is his relationship. Then they must get these people who are middlemen. This Malcolm X Light, he needs to come in. Then Brown Mkhwanazi.
Yeah, Brown Mkhwanazi is going to be very important.
This guy said on SABC that one, he had access to police files.
Yeah.
Then he's telling us that he was there with Thabo Bester.
He was sending WhatsApps to Mkhwanazi saying, hey, this is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he needs to explain to us, first, where did you get Mkhwanazi's number?
Where did you get all these documents?
What is your relationship with Matlala? What is your relationship with Molefe?
Yeah.
What is your relationship with Mtunu? What is your relationship with Begicele?
Absolutely.
And if he has been working as a police informant or he's part of crime intelligence or whatever his intelligence, I don't think he should be given a pass. Because his name is out there.
Yeah.
He already did interviews.
Yeah.
He already attempted to explain things. And then he also has to explain to us what is the nature of his foundation, Brown Mkhwanazi Foundation.
Okay.
You know, there were people in that Brown Mkhwanazi Foundation I saw on the foundation information who were working in the Premier's office for 30 years. He needs to explain what has been happening in Northwest. Northwest is one of the worst governed provinces. Everybody knows that. It's a horse curry festival there. They're stealing everything. This is not a secret, Caesar. Somebody went to Mahikeng recently and they were saying they were surprised by the level of dilapidation, considering how much money is coming out of Mahikeng and also how much money is being sent in terms of the government spend on it.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense, right? So in fact, maybe they should also get Zamani Soul. But speaking about just this Brown Mkhwanazi, he's got a foundation. He seems to be heavily involved in a lot of things.
Absolutely.
So he needs to come in and explain because his messages, he needs to submit his phone. Show us what you've been texting these people.
Yeah.
Tell us everything. You tell us even your Thabo Bester story. Because now he was claiming that he was the one in Tanzania out there and apprehending Thabo Bester. And that's what he was saying. I saw it in Sunday World, one of the publications.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to say that you're a main actor, right? You're trying to say that you're John Cena out here. Come and explain how it is that you're involved in all of these things.
Fully agreed.
Then Serge just emerged out of nowhere. Kabongi. We need to hear everything that he's been hearing, right? He needs to lend us his ears and tell us what it is. Because now all of a sudden he's coming out, Tobeka Tobejane is taking drugs. She's on drugs. 2 interviews I've heard him say that. I'm a GBV activist. How are you a GBV activist? What is your GBV activism? Right? I feel like people haven't been pushing these people. If they go to the commission, I was very happy with the evidence leader yesterday. Yeah. I know Advocate Tefa is also not going to play if ever he is now the one leading evidence. So the problem with what they've done and the beauty of what General Mkhwanazi has done, even if you try to dilute it, even if you try to suppress it, this is strong oros. In fact, I would say it's hydrochloric acid. And it's right now it's at 1.0 concentration. They've been trying, Shem, to add a little water here and there. But even if you were to dilute the hydrochloric acid to 0.5 concentration, it's still going to burn your skin.
Let me add some other, because we've spoken about high-level politicians and also what I'm calling cartelpreneurs, what you call Hoshkari.
The Hoshkari fathers.
I think there's also a third element which we have missed so far, which is the criminal justice system.
Yes.
So I want to hear from, obviously, Fani Masemola, National Police Commissioner. Because yesterday it felt a bit like Mkhwanazi was throwing him under the bus. He was like, I messaged him to speak to Senzo Mkhunu, and he told me he was on holiday. I asked him to go to the president to ask if he endorsed this decision to disband. He never got back to him. Because I'd always seen them as kind of together on one side of this. but it's not that simple, clearly. So I want to know what Fani
but
Masemola
I didn't get
knows.
that. You know, I got that he said that.
Yeah.
And maybe there is some distance because the
Yeah.
commissioner can't just be jumping around.
Yeah.
But the man was on leave. And imagine it's
This is
December.
an important issue.
It is but
it's like the political killings task team's been disbanded. Oh no, sorry, I'm in Mauritius.
No,
Don't call me, I'll call you.
I don't think that's how. But think about it like this: if you're him, I picked up also that they're going on leave at the end of the year because you can't go on leave 25 December.
Yeah.
You have to be dealing with all of the stabbings, all of the things that are the hijackings, all of the Christmas shenanigans you have to put up with.
Sure.
So when festive is now over, or the 30th, you're like, okay, I've dealt with most of festive.
Yeah.
We've got our teams ready for, the 1st of Jan, New Year's Eve, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Let me take the 2 weeks because things are about to pick up
Okay,
again.
fine. But then what did you do after those 2 weeks?
It looks like he did stuff, right? Because when he came back into the office, he actually had a conversation with the other guy we need to add to the list, Sibiya. Right?
Well, that's
Sibiya
another one.
Libiya, they need to come on.
Absolutely. But as far as we know, he did not impress upon the president or get that
But
that,
you know the
that
press
information.
be blue ticking everybody.
That's what I that's what I need to find out.
Even
Okay,
who
so-
applied for the visa and then who applied to go to America and said,
Oh,
I sent
yeah,
the thing to the
exactly.
president.
But then he
I didn't get a
acted very
response.
quickly.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
now Trump was now
Yeah.
squeezing. All I'm trying to say is from what Fani has been saying and Masemola has been saying in the last few weeks and
Yeah.
what we've been getting from the spokesperson
Yeah.
and even from the court proceedings where
Yeah.
Sibiya was applying for leave, it looks like he was following it through.
Yeah.
Maybe he was also trying to suss out everything that's happening because this major decision has been made.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not been privy to all of the developments. And so I didn't feel like he was throwing him under the bus.
Yeah.
But obviously he did outline that this is how
Sure.
it went down.
Yeah. So Masemola's key, obviously.
Yeah.
Sibiya, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Sibiya, we need to know about these dockets. We need to know his involvement with the task team, what happened to the dockets when they were there, etc. And also, I want to know about once he was placed, told to go home, now that he's been put on suspension, because the story doesn't end on the 6th of July, right?
Yeah.
We also need to know stuff about after that. Dumisani Khumalo.
Also, before we leave Sibiya,
Yeah.
why are all of these guys who are implicated in funny behavior saying that they're your friends? They're not saying I've spoken to him, or they're saying I'm his friend.
Yeah,
Let me
sure.
tell you what his problem is. I'm like, show me your friends type of conversation. I'm like, why are you hanging around with the most prolific nightclub celebrities or entities or personalities, especially after we saw, you remember earlier this year there was the guy who said that he was abused in the nightclubs, one of the nightclubs in Pretoria. It became a whole scandal because I don't know what the hell was happening. These are the types of people that are calling Sibiya their buddy. What is the buddy there? What Coca-Cola y'all drinking? That's what I want to know. He needs to be able to, because having all of these shady characters come in to give arguments on your behalf is not helping his case to the public, I think.
No, absolutely. Fully agreed. And then there's Khumalo, head of crime intelligence. And here things get a bit deeper because it's not just about the police. One of the things people are not focusing on enough, in my view, and what Mkhwanazi said is he spoke about prosecutors.
Yeah.
And he spoke about the judiciary. And he used that term. He didn't just say magistrates, by the way. He said the judiciary. So one thing I don't know yet, and I've been meaning to check out, is who was the judicial officer? I think it was in the magistrates court. I could be I could be wrong. Who imposed those bail conditions on Dumisani Khumalo so that he couldn't go back to work and access those documents. Because this is something that Mkhwanazi's complained about. They basically sidelined.
And it looks like something happened in that office where I don't know what Khumalo's involvement was, because this young lady was given this job that she arguably didn't deserve. And then they were like, gotcha. Use this to deal with everybody. Get the whole investigation team. And that slowed down movement on the docket. So to me, it seems as if there is something to answer about how did this lady get the status that she doesn't deserve. Maybe there was someone who was salivating over her and was like, I can promote you and take care of you. But I don't think that goes all the way to Khumalo. I don't think he would have been involved in that kind of a decision. But what I do see, even if his hands are dirty on the giving this girl status that she didn't deserve within the ranks of the police, to me, those hands are dirty, but the other guy's hands are bloody. And there has to be a cost-benefit analysis that is done here. Because at the point at which you're stopping investigations which can stop people who've been getting billions in tenders from the Gauteng Department of Health. And we must remember this money that leaks into the hands of these Hoshkari fathers, it therefore means medicines cannot be bought. It therefore means that nurses cannot be hired, doctors cannot be hired.
Infrastructure can't be
The
built.
things that people are saying, that people are dying in hospitals.
Yeah.
They are dying in hospitals because the money has been stolen. And the money hasn't just been stolen from the hospitals. It has been stolen from the municipalities. You can see it. Sometimes you go to some of the community centers and you can see that this money was looted. This place was never supposed to look like that. Somebody has basically hijacked this money, and now the money is showing up in, Maybachs and Mercedes and Jeeps and all of these kind of cars that they love to drive around in Rosebank and in the nights. So, and these mansions that they live in Midrand. So we need to keep that in mind when assessing other people, which is why I've been so hesitant to join but what about Mkhwanazi? But Mkhwanazi, all of these guys, I'm like, this to me is a problematic equivalence that you're trying to create.
Yeah.
You're equivocating at the wrong time.
Sure.
You're equivocating at the wrong time. So even if Paul O'Sullivan is telling the truth that they got a Louis Vuitton bag, I'm happy to buy him a Louis Vuitton bag. I just don't have Louis Vuitton bag money. I'll take it one my mind. We'll find something. But even if they did take Louis Vuitton bags and gave them to their wives, that to me is amachoncho right now. It's just small things. When you're doing a slaughtering of the cow, whatever, some of the boys will eat meat and whatever just there at the place of slaughter. Nobody's going to come there and say, no, but the cow is missing, whatever.
Yeah.
The focus on these minor things, when we have such mega developments within the world of gun trading, drug trading, and tender corruption,
and let there be accountability for all of it.
Yeah.
But I agree, it's not the same scale. So back to our. So we've got the key political people. We've got the politicians. We've got now we're in the criminal justice system. We've got the tenderpreneurs, etc. We've spoken about the police people. One thing I feel Mkhwanazi does need to substantiate, which I believe he will, is who are these judges that he is saying could be involved in this syndicate, and of course then if they and when they're named, we need to hear from them. Who are these prosecutors who are part of this, and then we need to hear from the prosecutors. And by the way, we then also need to hear from Shamila Batoyi, who's been the NDPP this whole time.
Throughout this whole thing.
So I think the criminal justice system players could be some of the most explosive stuff we've heard. I mean, we've spoken a lot about the judiciary in South Africa. I believe it's probably, of the three branches of government, the one that's performed the best since 94.
Yes.
But on the other hand, there's a tendency to shy away from when the judiciary is actually implicated in wrongdoing. If we hear that a judge in a high court or something is implicated in this tender criminal cartel, that is going to be probably the most explosive thing, or one of the most explosive things that comes from this.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you're right, because we have to remember something. We've already established that judges can get drunk and crash into walls. We've established that.
Sure.
All right? Judges have been accused now of trying to influence decisions that affect politicians, right? At least one, they've said, look, this guy was coming to talk to us about Jacob Zuma. We've also established that judges can lust, right, after their work associates. Even during the first interviews for the Chief Justice, we also heard that some of the judges can also be involved in sexual harassment. So if all of these things are true about judges, why are we still acting as if they are beyond scrutiny? Because every time you try to say, but what about judges? No, they matter. Judges matter. Just relax. Like, yeah, who say they don't matter? The police matter, the politicians matter, all lives matter, as they would say in America, right? When they don't want to be held accountable for white on black violence. But having said all of that, it's clear to me that there are some peculiar decisions that have been made in respect to some of these criminals in this saga. Right? Even the granting of bail of Katiso Molefe. Why would you give a guy who, one, has been already convicted of drug offenses, who, number two, already has been identified to have a passport from another country, has been moving around on that passport, and is implicated in murders? Why would you ever grant that guy bail? Because if you give a murderer bail, he's going to do what he does to make sure that witnesses never emerge. And we're living in a country now where people are getting shot outside of courts before they give testimony, right? And you'll hear, no, so-and-so was shot dead, 2 people were shot dead. They never tell us who they were about to give testimony of, which makes me think maybe it's numbers, blogs, gangs, or whatever, right? So that aside, it does indicate that there are issues that do need to be examined. And if South Africa has high levels of corruption and high levels of dodgy behavior by individuals in power, what makes this place, Umoya Ongcwele, Holy Spirit, that nothing whatsoever, nobody here can be scrutinized except for the people we tell you in advance. No, this one gets drunk. This one likes girls. This one was talking about Zuma. So you other guys, you guys are fine. You guys are beyond reproach. You guys matter and you're excellent and you're all holy. No disrespect. Everybody works to earn those credentials.
Yeah.
But human beings are human beings. And you know, Lauryn Hill once said something, and I'll never forget it. She said, everyday people, they lie to God. So what makes you think they won't lie to you? And judges are everyday people with ropes.
Sure.
We're all human here.
I mean, I think that's already a pretty good witness list. I don't know if you have any other ideas to add, but that's members of the political killings task team.
Yes,
I want to hear
themselves.
from the people who were there, what they knew about the disbandment, when it was disbanded, what kinds of things, what dockets they were working on.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get this, but Mkhwanazi keeps talking about these 5 arrests that were supposed to happen, that when the dockets were taken away from him, there were already instructions for 5 arrests. What were those arrests?
Exactly.
The problem is that might compromise
The actual,
in a legitimate way, but he clearly thinks those 5 instructions are important. Who are they for? Are they for people within this cartelpreneur network? Are they for politicians?
It may have been a politician. I think
Absolutely.
it may have been somebody like Senzo Mkhunu at some point, because he seems to be convinced that Senzo Mkhunu is in the mix.
And we know that there were rumors swirling that either Mkhwanazi and or Fani Masemola were going to be arrested.
Yeah, and I think that would have been a retaliation.
Exactly.
And almost trying to prevent them from doing their work.
Exactly. So Mkhunu's probably going to come and say there were plans to arrest, and they did it in retaliation.
Yeah.
And we might find that actually there was a plan to potentially arrest Mkhunu or some senior politician.
Yeah. And I think, look, nobody's beyond reproach.
Yeah.
But we may need some criminal law lecturers to provide some context. You know, there's one thing, and I don't know if Snyman is still alive, actually, but I have this textbook that I got when I was doing criminal law. And throughout this, you know, I've been thinking that we still haven't gotten to the big things that are necessary to solve what's happening. So let me read from you one of the things, almost first 3 days of criminal law, what the guy says. He talks about a dysfunction in the criminal justice system. The South African criminal justice system, with the best will in the world, cannot be described as other than dysfunctional. Since about 1990, crime has rocketed to levels never before experienced in South Africa. Then he goes on to talk about various crime statistics. In 1995, there were 84,785 cases of the commission of robbery with aggravating circumstances. In 1995, there were 44,000 cases of rape. Then you compare with the numbers that we're getting now. Then murder, he also talks about that. And he goes through a variety of things where he explains. Let me just read this first line here. Whereas the average number of murders in the period between 1950 and 1990 was about 7,000 a year. During the first 8 years of the new democratic dispensation in the country, it increased threefold to about 24,000 murders a year. Right? And this is a 2008 edition of the textbook.
Sure.
I think if we get some administrative law experts, because there's a question around whether this was an administrative decision, the disbanding of the political killings task team is definitely a reviewable decision, whether or not it is an administrative law decision.
Yeah.
And if it is a reviewable decision, he needs to explain the rationality. He needs to explain the lawfulness.
Absolutely.
Also needs we need to eliminate whether there were ulterior motives, because the timing is so stuck.
Yeah, and
Just
interrogate the written rationale.
So if they can get Hoekstra or somebody to come in, give an explanation of that element, then also get these criminal law experts to come in and then discuss some elements which the practitioner, which is Mkhwanazi, although he does have an LLB and all of that, we need some expertise now from people who've been looking at that.
That's a really useful intervention. And on that, I'm interested in a very important legal question, which is, did Mkhunu have the legal power to disband the task team in the first place? And if he thinks he did, where did he source that power? Because that's going to be a crucial. I mean, if it's decided that he has the power, which is very unlikely.
Can I say something? I will cut you. Something just struck me. You know, Kachalia was my administrative law lecturer.
He's the real deal. As a legal academic.
So let me tell you what Firoz taught me when I was doing admin law at Wits University.
Yeah.
Yes, it was an administrative decision, but he didn't have the power. He did not have the power.
Exactly.
If this was a decision that would be reviewed, I think that it would have been set aside.
Yeah.
So I think it does need to be answered. But Prof. Kachalia, that's what you taught me, if my memory serves correct, and I did well in admin law. So I'm willing to bet money that this is a reviewable decision, and it was a wrong decision, and one that is not. The task team was performing well. It's not rational based on the reasons that were presented. The political killings have not stopped in South Africa.
Yeah.
And if we use a broad definition of political killings, such as the killings of auditors, people like Babita, who are trying to stop politicians from looting the state, right, through their relatives or whatever.
Yeah.
There's clearly a problem here.
Exactly.
So I'm willing to bet money that he didn't have the power.
Agreed. And that's going to be a key question. Another interesting question for me, legally speaking, as you say, not necessarily for people to come and give testimony, is what is the status of the evidence given in the commission for the parliamentary committee and vice versa? Because these are going to be happening in parallel. Would that be admissible evidence in either of the two? Or do they have to be disregarded? That's a fascinating question.
I think it's going to be standalone, right?
Yeah.
I think they're going to say, you didn't present it here.
Yeah.
You need to, under oath, present it here so that we can hold you accountable under our own legal, dispensations and powers. Having said that, I think that the ad-hoc committee, if I was in the ad-hoc committee now, I wouldn't be trying to replicate.
Yeah, sure.
I'd be trying to augment.
Exactly.
Say, look, Mkhwanazi said what he's already said.
Yeah.
Let's get Pekitele in here. If he's not going to come in here, let's subpoena him immediately.
Yeah.
We don't have to start with Mkhwanazi. I know they did want to.
There's no need to start with Mkhwanazi.
Compliment. If these guys are talking to one group of people, you guys call Brown Mkhotsi.
Exactly.
If you want to compete, nobody's going to juniorize you if you take the actions that are necessary to seniorize yourself.
Exactly.
So you don't have to keep complaining about it.
And imagine if right now Mkhwanazi was testifying and Masemola was in parliament. We'd actually get a deeper conversation going on at the same time.
Exactly. And that's how I think they need to be moving.
Yeah.
So I heard what Julius Malema said. I could get that he was exasperated, that things were not necessarily going his way. They obviously don't have the votes. I heard what the Patriotic Alliance member also said. There are people who want to really make that parliamentary process bang for buck.
Sure.
The DA has been moving with a little bit.
They've been moving mad.
They have some lethargy when they deal with this issue.
Absolutely.
Breitenbach and all of these people.
No statements. Did they release a statement yesterday after the testimony?
And there was, who was that guy? Ian Cameron was shouting at Pekitele. Hey, when I shut up, Pekitele said to him, and then he was at the back, you're not going to tell me that. You're not going to tell me that. And then now, it's all calm, composed.
Yeah.
I don't get that lack of energy. I think I understand the political calculation leading to the lack of energy.
Yeah.
But the broader point that we're making, or I think that we agree on, is that the ad hoc committee can be creative. They don't have to now take this approach where they are waiting to do 3-day-long, evidence being led. They want to do something punchy. So call in Brown Mkhotsi. Let's say that's who you call in. Say, Chief, who is Pekitele to you? Who is Senzo Mchunu to you? Why were you messaging these guys?
Yeah.
Etc., etc., etc. Finish with that guy.
Yeah.
And then you keep going. And then if you find that there are irregularities and stuff, so it doesn't have to be the same, because the commission is going to take forever. And you can already see Mkhwanazi has already done 2 days, right? And it may go on for more days. I don't think he's going to do the full estimation, because I mean, what more
3
can
or
he
4,
say?
I think
3 maybe max. I'm just thinking it will be 3, but it may be 4. But think about that. That's everybody coming to give their whole life story.
Yeah.
No, I started in this village, and then I thought I saw a police officer at the corner, and then
this is just a thought from my side, right? Having watched these commissions, like, we need to find a way of making evidence punchier. Like, we don't need to learn Mkhwanazi's. It's important. We don't need his whole CV. Like, just WhatsApp that to the nation.
Exactly.
And just tell us, let's get to the allegations. Because otherwise, we're going to spend a cumulative total of 3 months hearing people's CVs and knowing stuff that we already know.
But that's part of what the political elites are betting on.
Yeah.
They know that this stuff is explosive. Same as the Zondo Commission, a lot of explosive stuff came out of there. And then nothing ended up happening.
And it gets buried because you have to go like 2 hours into the video to find what's being said.
Even yesterday, a lot of people were so grateful that we did summaries, and I hope we can keep that energy up because there's a high volume of stuff going on here. And life is happening, right? So we're trying to also squeeze it in. But having said that, the political elites are hoping, and I think this is part of the calculation. At some point, somebody will have to be the fall guy. And I think that the rationale is that the fall guy must be as far away from the top people within the ANC or whatever, so that the government of national unity can keep doing its business, because that's what the markets care about. So you may find that even in the selection of witnesses, you may find that some of the people we put on our dream list won't show up, either at the ad hoc committee or even in the commission. But the hope is, let's get into 2026. Let's see what we do local government. But as much as possible, let's get this Korokoro to the ANC elective conference. And then hopefully we can get our preferred guys. And I heard what Patrice said, that he's not running, etc., etc. And of course, now the temperature has changed because one of his guys who was supposed to be on his slate is heavily implicated here. So he's lost his KZN guy, so to speak. And that's Mkhunu, right? Because there was a poster that was being circulated on social media putting Mkhunu there. I think it was deputy president or whatever. So having said that, the politicians are happy. They want you to take the CV. They'll even try to get deputy ministers in there. So even parliament, they were like, let's get deputy ministers. Let's hear from the new minister. I'm like, look, Kachala just got here. What does he know about any of this stuff? He just arrived.
Sure.
Remember that meme? I just arrived. Kachala, what do you know? I just arrived. All Kachala can say is I just arrived. But from a time wasting perspective, speaking to him for 2 days adds time. And then it adds more that needs to be typed out and stenographed and all of that. And then the report gets longer, the information gets more condensed and all of that, and dense rather. So I think, even though you're right that we do need shorter types of commission from the persons who are really in trouble as a result of these allegations from the 6th of July. I don't think they even wanted the commission. But the way that Mkhwanazi did what he did on the 6th, there's no other way.
Absolutely.
He set fire to South Africa. He set fire to the world. Because we mustn't be confused that it's just South Africa watching this. The whole world is interested in the story.
And these cartels also have links to global international
crime Karen Doley wrote that book.
She's coming up on SMWX soon.
I look forward to that. And she was linking Brazil, a lot of these other places.
It's a fascinating interview. We've actually already done it.
I forgot a witness. Gayton.
Wow.
Gayton McKenzie.
Because he did say he knows. He's also in that whole GNU cabinet. If we had time.
Gayton, with your own mlomo, you volunteered.
That would be interesting.
Said, I know what's happening. Ooh, I can tell you this. Then he whistled. Last time I tried to whistle, it didn't work out. But he whistled on Spizene. That's what he was telling us. I know these things. So if Gayton already said he's willing, he lifted his hand. He said, I volunteer.
I was quite... One of the things that disappointed me about the Zondo Commission is I was actually hoping they would speak to Julius as well. Because Julius Malema, he clearly knows things and he has interesting perspectives on these different things. What about him?
Put him on. Julius seems to be a CII, Chief Information Intelligence Officer. I know he calls himself CIC, but there's a CII there because he's also getting a lot. Sometimes Julius tells us stuff.
Absolutely.
And people think, no, there's no way. Julius is not being honest. Julius doesn't know. True. Then that thing breaks out.
What about, would you invite Zuma to the commission?
You know what? If you're going to make it real, to be honest, if you're going to do the whole thing, bring him on. Because if we're adding Paul Mashatile, right, he's incidentally involved in all of this stuff. Bring Zuma on.
How funny that would be. Zuma actually coming to a commission, but now like giving testimony that could
and remember he said
the
one
Ramaphosa
day
government.
So this could be the day. Look, if we're honest and if you think about the extent of crime, and this is one of the points I wanted to make earlier, just forgot, is that one of the reasons which made Mkhwanazi's statements resonate is that you don't need to tell anybody in South Africa that there are violent syndicates dominating spaces because we all know it. You go to the mall, there are guys holding military grade weapons. So Sandton Mall feels safe because there's 50 guys carrying AKs or whatever those guns are to dissuade criminals from getting into the mall. Because they need to be sent a message.
Yeah.
You wrote in your book about all of these walled, the gated communities and all of this stuff. We've got all of these security companies keeping people safe. People have panic patterns that you have to respond within a minute. Otherwise, people are going to lose their lives. Everybody is going to bed with some level of fear and trepidation in South Africa. It's not, except for Rupert. He says that he sleeps with his doors open or whatever, right? But I doubt that, he doesn't have the interventions around his neighborhood to make sure that he's safe, right? He's the only guy who said that. I'll tell you a personal narrative or story. Recently, I think it was last year, spoke to a friend of mine. And he was telling me about that he's going to buy a gun safe and all of this stuff, and he's done the gun training. And the other Sizwe Dlomo is always there at gun ranges and stuff. So he's part of that group where these gents, they're always shooting and practicing and all of that. And I'm very skeptical about guns because, right wing in America, gun control, all of that.
Sure.
But I started thinking about it seriously, man, because I don't have hands like that. Mkhwanazi looks like he can take a fight. He looks like a boxer.
Yeah.
But me, on the other hand, I can talk and I can run, but I'm not going to be the guy you call when somebody's now in the yard. And that's not my dispensation. I'll tell you the page of the book to read. And anyway, so
you'll analyze the situation on YouTube.
Heck, man, I'll make an episode about it. But point I'm making is I started seriously thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's like, how am I going to protect my loved ones, the people around me?
Personal safety is just always at the back of your mind.
Yeah, and the gun activist one asked me, I once had a conversation long ago with a gun activist from America. And he said to me, Jamie, if 3 armed men break into your home, what are you going to do? You're going to debate them. What are you going to do? And it stuck with me, man. I was like, all of my skills.
You're going to call them Hosh Curry fathers.
Like, what the Hosh? It's not going to work. And I think I've got a relative who's in the taxi industry. He's got a gun. And as you begin to have conversations, the Uber drivers are carrying guns.
Yeah.
There are a lot of guns here. And the reason I'm bringing all of this up and even my personal reflections on guns, and I didn't go through with it, right? I'm using prayer now. Prayer is my fundamental weapon. But the point I'm making is that every home has had to figure out how they secure, whether it's pit bulls. Some people have these very aggressive dogs because they can't afford ADT and all of these security companies. So they buy these very aggressive dogs and they learn how to manage those dogs because that's their first line of defense. And then you think about every home, even in your home, you've had to think, whether it's panic buttons, whether it's cameras, whether it's all of this stuff. You don't have to convince anybody. Then you talk about townships. Then you talk about the neighborhoods everybody knows. If you look at the police reports, the murder top stations, everybody knows. Everybody knows that there are dangerous communities in Kabi, all of these things that are happening. You don't have to tell anybody.
Absolutely. Even rural area. One of there's so many subplots to this. And we need to wrap up, and I want to get your views on Phala Phala because we've nearly single-handedly kept the story going, and it's getting even deeper and deeper. But the traditional leaders' killings as well in rural areas, like, often people, they've given up on the state. We can have any conversation we like about traditional leaders and their legitimacy. But quite frankly, in rural communities, often the first port of call for someone having a crisis of service delivery where the government is nowhere to be found is a traditional leader. Yeah. And now they're getting assassinated. 50 traditional leaders that Mkhwanazi's task team was. So again, rural South Africa, townships, informal settlements, right to the most pristine suburbs. This experience unites all of us.
Which is why there was no surprise.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like confirmation of our worst fears.
And we've also seen these people in the nightclubs and in the restaurants and all of that. Sometimes, there's a place in Rosebank where I once went on a Sunday. The number of Porsche cars that I saw there, it was like Porsche Cayenne City, if that's how you even pronounce that. There were Defenders and all of these expensive cars. And then there were all of these elder men with young women. So the Hosh Curry Mama thing, I promise you, if we gave Mkhwanazi resources and we just said, set up a Hosh Curry Behavior Investigative Unit, the HKB, he will solve this thing in a year because there's a lot happening there. There's a lot happening there.
Absolutely. Sizwe. Bro, let me get your thoughts on Phala Phala before we go, because some fascinating things happening. I'm going to put it all in one, and then you can respond in one, and we can close out here. Number one, where on earth is this Constitutional Court judgment? The Nkandla judgment took 58 days, I think. Secret ballot took a similar amount of time. The longest judgment was the impeachment judgment. These are all around Jacob Zuma, which I think took 100 and something days. We're coming up to a year now since the hearing. Still no judgment on a very urgent pressing question in South African political life about whether Parliament should have voted to basically just ignore this Phala Phala report. So there's number one, where is the ConCourt on this? There's also no media pressure on the ConCourt to actually provide a judgment timeously, which has implications for the rule of law, which is important. Number two, this trial is ongoing now, and suddenly some very uncomfortable things are starting to be revealed. Number one, we heard from a witness. Of course, not every witness is truthful, so it could be wrong that Ramaphosa knew about where the money was placed. We've also heard apparently this couch has gone missing. So the police got there and they were like, yeah, no, there used to be a couch here. There's no longer a couch here.
The couch is gone now.
Yeah. So what's going on with Phala Phala? We can't take our eye off this ball. Like I've said, Nkandla, I was the same. Wrote books about this. And it's not because I don't like Cyril Ramaphosa as an individual. He's actually a very nice person. I've actually met him, by the way. And he's one of the nicest people you'll meet. It's about keeping the office of the president, which is the apex office in our society. Because if the president has impunity, then there's no such thing as equality before the law. So what are your thoughts on this Phala Phala situation? Because it's not going away.
Yeah, it's not going away. And I think the gymnastics that we have seen, the logical gymnastics from the onset, because I was actually persuaded by the Section 89 report. From that point, I was like, this is compelling. This is a retired Chief Justice. These arguments make a lot of sense. The gaps that they've pointed out are clear. There's been a lot of gymnastics since that point, right? The Public Protector report did not persuade me. The Reserve Bank transaction not perfected. I was like, there's a lot of stretching that is being done to try to bury some of this stuff. And now the couch goes missing. Even the first time when Vincent Magwenya did an interview on this and they were like, why didn't you report the crime? He's like, well, we didn't want to alert the community and scare members of the community. I was like, bro, come on, bro. The members of the community already know that there's crime in South Africa. That doesn't seem to me to be a persuasive reason to begin with, right? So as this thing is now happening, we're having a situation where, number one, there was a guy who was on Sky News, Hazim Mustafa, if that even is a person who exists, saying, here is the paperwork. He didn't show the journalist the paperwork, wouldn't allow her to take the paperwork. The DA then sends the question saying, Saz, was there ever a declaration of such an amount of money? Saz says, nope, we don't have those records. But now, what was he showing the journalist from Sky News? And then all of a sudden, she lost appetite. She can't go to Dubai anymore. She's all over. She's a very accomplished journalist. I respect her work. But for whatever reason now, Sky News doesn't want her to go back and ask Hazim that, hey, Hazim, these are the things that have been said. People have said that they're trying to reach you in South Africa. They can't reach you. I've been able to reach you before. You took me to your penthouse there in Dubai. Let's go over some of the things that have come up. So even that. So the money comes in undeclared on Christmas Day. So some of the elements of the story is like it's like a comedy. It's like Trevor Noah's early work. It's like if he was thinking, let me write a joke about how a rich guy comes on Christmas Day
and buys
with cash money to buy a buffalo and then doesn't even care about taking the Christmas
and
Day
then the
thing.
couch goes missing.
Father Azim, right? Father Christmas comes in on the day, undeclared money. Then we get told this money
I need all these buffaloes. Oh, by the way, it turns out I just have dollars in my boot.
I'm carrying the dollars, heavy dollars.
I'll just give them to you. We like,
and then so I mean the whole thing doesn't make sense from the jump. And then now you get this additional information, right? Because my whole thing was, why are you saying $580,000 when we heard that it was a much larger amount? So I think at some point he was just like, I'm willing to write off $580,000 for whatever reason. Now, the fact that the couch is missing tells me that couch has compartments. That's I don't know. In law we use the reasonable person standard. If a couch goes missing, is it just me, guys? Is it just me? This couch has compartments. They only got one branch of the bank. They didn't get the full sofa banking experience. You may even find that it's not the couch that went missing. It's the sofa set that went missing. They're just like, no, the couch was here.
What if it's one of those sofa sets that has the plastic as well? Like it may very well.
You know, some people don't like to take out the plastic. And the older guys, they love the plastic on. They'll keep plastic on anything. So point I'm making now is that I think that there's a lot more.
There's
here.
So many questions.
And we've been seeing all of this logical gymnastics because bringing in foreign currency is, if you don't go through the proper exchange regulations, that's illegal.
Absolutely.
Then keeping it is illegal. It's a violation of a variety of laws already. Sure. And now we're told, don't worry about that because, you know, the transaction wasn't perfected. So our legislation doesn't kick in until the transaction is complete.
Exactly. And if it gets stolen from you, not declaring that it was stolen is illegal as well.
That too is
because one of the key ways of money laundering is it got stolen from me.
Yes. So the Prevention of Corruption Act actually says that. I saw it, Section 3 or something like that. It stipulates that. Yeah. So we've been going through a lot of gymnastics here. And the irony of it all now is that the people who stole the money are now being held accountable.
They're the only ones who are being held accountable.
They're being accused of being criminals.
And they're pleading not guilty. I am so fascinated to hear this testimony. That thing better be broadcast, by the way.
I hope they do. Yeah. There's been some coverage. I don't think it's been the way that I would have liked.
Now we need live cameras.
We need 4K cameras in those courts as well, so that we get all the information. Put that in a big court as well, not some corner where put it in the main arena because it's a big case that affects everybody. And I hope they call the president as a witness there as well, because your money was stolen. Can you please come and kuluma about your money that was stolen? You can't. You're the victim here.
Yeah.
The victim must come and testify.
Absolutely.
The victim must come and testify. If you stole my stuff, you know, I'm trying to get my money from Uber Eats. The other day I ordered something, I didn't get the delivery, and they were giving me an up and down, and I'm still trying to get that money. I'm willing to testify anyway. Consumer protection, where I'm there, and I'm going to take those guys there because I want that food. Now, just think about me. I'm fighting for my 241 rands. That's how much Uber Eats stole from me, right? I'm just saying, maybe later on they'll redeem themselves or sponsor the show, whatever. But at this point, for my 241 rands, I'm willing to go anywhere. That's my level of petty. Now, 580,000 USD, the one that you're willing to admit, 580,000 USD. That's a lot of hosh curry mamas. That's a lot of cupcakes. But you willing to let those go? I know there's something. But anyway, like you're saying, it's not about necessarily the person. I've never met the president. I'm willing to take your version that he's a nice guy. The people who work for him all seem to love him passionately, happy to defend him to the end. But like you're saying, this is an institutional issue. And that institutional issue needs to be resolved. You don't strengthen a democracy by ignoring these type of things. Because right now, everyone is like, no, this is our guy, blah, 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 blah. We love this guy, etc., etc. He's doing this, he's privatizing, he's doing IPPs, things that they love in some sectors. Now, the question then becomes, if you let this happen the way it's happening without any challenge, what happens if it's a president you don't like?
Yeah, exactly.
What happens if it's President Malema or President Mackenzie? And Mackenzie's telling you, no, the transaction was not perfected. Don't ask me how I got $10 million.
And now there's case law which says, oh, well.
Never mind. SARS can't come get him.
Yeah.
And by the way, anybody else, I think there were a few people who were caught with large amounts of money when they were crossing the border. They were arrested. There's reports on that.
Yeah.
So the logical jijistu and ninjistu that has been happening here, the gymnastics, I think at some point, the nod, wink, at what point do we get academics actually saying, legal academics? Because some of the stuff I'm reading it and I'm like, you know, I've said in the lectures and the standard that lecturers hold us to, in criminal law and jurisprudence and all of this stuff. I'm like, how do you explain this to your students? How do you explain this judgment here?
Where are the books? You know those investigative journalist books? Like, surely there should be a Phala Phala book.
There was a Zuma years. Remember, there was a Zuma years. It was written by Richard Cullen, right? His name, Richard Cullen. Zuma years. Then later on, he wanted to be on that Section 89 panel, even though he's a strong supporter of the president. I think he was ended up removed because there was a conflict.
I think he stood down,
where is his Ramaphosa years book? There's a different treatment of this particular faction of the ANC. They're treated as holier than thou, can't touch this. It's a whole MC Hammer around these guys. But everybody else has been held to a high standard. There's even a book now out on Malema talking about VBS and how he got 21 million rands. 580,000 US dollars. I think it's worth more than 21 million rands.
Yeah. Absolutely.
In a sofa that has gone missing.
Well, it's about 8 million, but yeah.
What is it? Is it 8 million? You're right. You're right. It's not exactly, but I don't think
but
it was.
it's a
I don't
lot
think
of
it was
money.
580 anyway.
Sure.
There was probably more.
Yeah.
Point I'm trying to make is that in all of that, if you are concerned about the 21 million that Malema has,
absolutely,
why are you less concerned about this one imperfect transaction, which is worth whatever the number is? What is it, 10 million or whatever the number is?
There should be equal, or if not more, because of the public power held by the president.
Exactly, it's the president.
Yeah,
they would if Trump got this money. We know how
what happened with Zuma. Anything when Zuma was president, rightly so, was held to a ridiculous level of scrutiny. I'm just like, I don't know why there's scrutiny for some and not for others. That's what I can't
It's a double
fathom.
standard is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a double standard. And it's a problem when you have a double standard because once you introduce that weakness in the institution, the next guy,
exactly.
It's not about this guy. And look, people are not perfect, right?
Yeah.
Maybe mistakes were made. Right? Maybe that's why he wanted to resign at that particular point.
Sure.
I actually also think we should be careful about trying to over prosecute certain types of people because sometimes we have to look the other way for the sake of stability. But that's not to say before we get to the bottom of it. Do you understand? So I do think there should be some consideration for what Thuli Madonsela was suggesting at some point, some amnesty given to certain types of people at the end of term, because if everyone who was involved in this cover up is now worried that once their guy leaves, they're going to be held accountable,
but then
they're going to
return
block
for
the
truth,
system.
in return for truth, right?
Yeah,
then
in return for truth.
Everything that happened with Phala Phala, then we can talk.
In return for truth. I'm just saying, like, it's a thought there around the nation and democracy building, and when you start to have the types of dangers that exist, because everyone was implicated in this, maybe thinking, I don't have amnesty, I'm not at the top, they're going to come for me, and then they start destroying evidence, they start blocking things, and then you don't get to the point where you need to. But it's a question for another day, I think, another panel.
Absolutely.
But it exists also as a question. But we're going to have to see. I didn't even answer your question about the judgment.
Yeah, sure.
I think the judgment is late.
Yeah.
I think somebody mentioned this to me off the record, whispering that there seems to be a new thinking within the ConCourt, and that thinking is that no dissenting judgments. So they're trying to get every judgment to be unanimous. Now, I think where they are right now is that they don't have that unanimity. They have some dissenting. And part of where this is coming from is because people were persuaded by Jafta J. They were persuaded by the dissenting judgment in the Zuma case, because there were some things there where the judges were saying, "I'm up the what is it? Up the creek without a paddle."
Yeah.
But I'm still going to make this decision. We're still going to send this guy to jail. We're still going to have this harsh sentence. Some people were not persuaded, and when they read what Jafta and them were saying in the dissenting judgment, they were more persuaded. Now, as a court, you would be concerned about that, because yes, we have the authority, but for a rare occasion, not only are people looking at the dissenting judgment as interesting for academic purposes, they're looking at it saying it's correct. And by the way, in the law firm, some of the people, when they do workplace training, they are actually saying that the decision was wrong. They won't say that in public, they won't say that on microphones, but when they read it and apply their legal reasoning, they're like, hey, the judges, yes, not make sure. But what that did is that it created, I think, this what can we call it? This anxiety that is not expressed, but is now being, exhibited in the slowness of the judgments, that we have to be careful now going into these delicate matters to make sure that we speak with one voice. We speak in unanimity. But this was off the record. I don't know if it's a real thing.
Yeah,
just giving my speculation as to why we are seeing the delays that we're seeing. Because if you've noticed, most of the judgments that have come out recently have been unanimous.
Yeah.
And it's almost odd that you'd have so many people and they all agree. We don't see it in the US Supreme Court. We don't see it in many courts. Absolutely. In fact, there's often just a contrarian who is willing to dissent to the bitter end. But I think because now they have these divergences of opinion on this critical matter, because if they rule in any way in favor with what the arguments that were presented by the EFF, that is going to be end of the road.
No, it is. It's a political earthquake.
And I don't think that the court actually wants that weight. I think that they are going to dither as much as possible, hope that the other events that are playing out in society have an impact on this before they drop this particular judgment.
But the dithering is gonna actually have an impact on them if they dither for too long. And again, I'm not putting undue pressure on the court because I just want an answer.
Like, you just a podcast anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see what the answer is. But you can't. It's bad for the rule of law to have an issue like this hanging for a year over the body politic.
Look, I think the damage may already have been done because people are looking at various decisions without the same level of, eager-eyed faith that they had when they were first-year law students. Some of the decisions, even the Hlophe decision, I'll tell you that JSC exclusion, I'm still not persuaded. I'm still not persuaded that there's one guy who should be eliminated for if the Constitution allows him. He should have been in the JSC. Because are they going to say that now Gayton McKenzie cannot be in the JSC? Because previously he had a life of crime and all of that. What happens if Kenny Kunene goes to parliament? He's not going to be in the J. You understand? The same arguments or the same spirit of argument that was used against Dr. Madlanga can be used on various people. So in as much as people are not vocalizing this, and in as much as legal practitioners are still very happy to toe the line, they are whispers. And when you go to law schools, when you go to these legal events, you hear people saying, but I'm not persuaded by that. I think some of the damage has been done. I think I'm not holding my breath for this judgment, to be quite honest with you. I think it may even take 2 years.
Sure. I really hope not. Well, they say bad presidents make good law and good presidents make bad law.
They do say that.
There we are. Brother, thank you so much for coming on SMWX once again. This was a fascinating exploration into all that's happening right now. Hope we can do it again. Like, share, subscribe. Help us get to 400,000 subscribers. And make sure that
500,000, we need to cross 400.
Yeah,
quick.
Exactly. And Mighty Jamie TV mustn't overtake SMWX.
No,
come on, we can agree on that, right? Just let them get to 300 and then stop there. But bro, good to have you, and all the best with the
Thanks
channel.
for having me, man. Good luck to you guys with Ayaya Studios. I saw it. Looks beautiful. I recommend it. People don't know the effort that you're putting in here. Sure. And we've had discussions over the years, man, and I can see the systematic growth, the discipline, the dedication, the passion that you're bringing to this digital platform. You have really pioneered new media. And over the years, being here now, I think I remember 3-4 years ago, it wasn't like this. Yeah. So sometimes people they see you at the front, they're like, no, it's Advocate Mpofu-Walsh. No, you've put in the work. You've done the hard miles, academically, in this particular space. You've been putting in the work. I salute you. You're one of the examples. Let's cow on formation this thing, cow on formation, because this is such an important service to the whole of Africa. Some people are watching from the UK, from Australia, saying these platforms are giving them an insight to what's happening in Africa with quality, crisp quality, lighting, all of this stuff. I look handsome when I'm in SMWX. I look at myself on I'm like, hey, I need to get a camera from these guys. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate the kind words. Aye.